Hey, Dan here in one of my favorite neighborhoods in the world, Cabanyal in Valencia. You can see quite a mix of buildings abandoned, squatted in, ready to fall apart, and nicely renovated. It's maybe the perfect ENFP neighborhood where you get all the variety you really need. This is going to be a fun video, kind of continuing on the philosophy track, but not exactly. And it's the need for an existential crisis. Or you could say, what is the value in having these existential crises? And this is something that's going to apply definitely for ENFPs, but I don't think we're alone in this. In fact, I think a lot of, let's see if I can go down the street without totally ruining things. A lot of NF types, INFPs, INFJs, we go through this where we're basically questioning the purpose of our life. That's what an existential crisis is. Like, what am I doing? Am I on the right track? Are things going the way they should? And I want to explore that topic in this video because I think it's something that is very common for ENFPs especially, but idealist types in general, because we care about the world. We care about what we are doing, the purpose of our work. But it's not always intellectually driven or even soul driven. In fact, I think that there's often times where we get to this crisis point because we neglect more basic needs. And so, for example, maybe we stop. Oh, this is cool. Okay. This was unplanned, but that is the villa I spent 6 months in during COVID here in Spain. You may have seen some older videos. If you check my videos from early 2020, you'll see they're all filmed inside that place. Awesome place to live. So sometimes we neglect our most basic needs. Maybe we're not spending enough time with friends. We're not exercising. We're not doing the things we know we need to do to be mentally healthy. And then our brain gets in sort of this negative place where we start questioning everything. We start questioning the big picture. We start questioning what we're doing with our lives. And that's something actually I do want to address on my own note, because as you know, a lot of my videos are coming from more of a personal place where I go through a certain experience and then I start to think about it and then share my insights with you. And let's see here. Okay, we're gonna go this way. Sorry about this video being a bit all over the place here. This last almost a month, I just realized as I called my mother for Mother's Day and realized we hadn't actually spoken in about 3.5 weeks. And normally I try to speak with her at least once a week. And so I realized I've actually been somewhat isolating myself, not intentionally as far as I can tell. But just in general, I was moving, I was busy with things, and I haven't been speaking to my family or close friends for almost a month. And the last week and a half, I've been in sort of a rougher place mentally. I haven't been feeling my best, let's say, which is kind of funny following the ENFP reboot. You would think, hey, you had this great accomplishment, you should feel great now. But as many of you know, often when we accomplish something big, we feel worse about ourselves after because we loved pursuing the goal. And a lot of studies have shown this with our dopamine levels, for example, where when we're pursuing a goal, we have the highest level of dopamine. And whether or not we achieve the goal, our dopamine goes down after, which means that the point when you are pursuing something, you're going to feel great, motivated, etc. And then you achieve it and you think, great, now I can chill, I can relax, I should feel even better. But you don't actually. You end up feeling worse after the fact, which really is something that you wouldn't expect. But once you learn it, you, in theory, learn to plan and stuff around it. So anyhow, I have been feeling not the best over the last couple weeks and was starting to, question things, my purpose, all this stuff. Which in this case I know is coming from poor self-management, lack of self-care, lack of time with good friends, etc. Sometimes a natural consequence of my traveling lifestyle. Not too often actually, but this couple weeks has really got me, to be honest. and was feeling kind of down, a little lonely, and just not at my best. But it sparked a little bit of this existential crisis. And it reminded me of this time I had a thing for a French girl. Come on, we've all had a thing for a French girl at some point in our lives, let's be honest. I don't care who you are watching this video, male, female, we've all had a thing for a French girl. And she was going through this existential crisis. And we were talking about it a little bit. And it came up that she's like, yeah, I like these because I have like a couple weeks of hell where I'm questioning things, I'm all over the place. But then I figure something new out about myself. I resolve my stuff and my life gets better. And it's one reason I don't have a lot of junk. Like, my life is pretty good. And this is someone who's very successful for her age, very smart, very, has her stuff together. And it made me think about that. It's like, is there a purpose to this existential crisis? And I think there really is. When I think about every time I've had this happen, because this is not the first time where I start to question things, I start to feel kind of some self-doubt, etc. But I always come out better. And I'm now on the better side of my own mini crisis here, where I've sat down, I figured some things out, I figured out what was maybe going on, and come up with a plan to right the wrongs, to fix things, to get back on track. And again, it's such a crazy ENFP thing, because my not being on track is like such a short time frame, right? If you think about the grand scheme of things, it's really been maybe a week where I've been a little off track, and that 1 week leads me to think about everything, which is quite funny. But if you're an ENFP watching this, you know what I mean. Like, we can have a couple bad days and start to rethink everything, which is, if you've seen my other videos, I'll link to some here on shiny object syndrome, and that's one of the reasons we can be so prone to this, because we have such a high standard for ourselves, and we see life in such a short time frame, that if we start to be off track for even a few days, we start to question it and then rethink everything, where a lot of other types would have to be off track for months and months until they actually start to question things. So but I've realized that for me, these little existential crises are usually very positive. They suck to go through. They are not enjoyable. Living in the challenging part of mind as an ENFP, where you're questioning what you're doing, you're unsure, you're jumping all around in terms of your purpose and that, not a fun place to be honest. But I've come to realize that it is a required stage that we go through, that we really need to have this time. I do, at least, but I don't think I'm alone based on the conversations I've had here. I need to have this time of questioning myself, questioning, what I am doing, and to some extent hitting a low point where it's like gets bad, and then it's like realizing like, oh, I'm doing something wrong. And in this case, I caught a bunch of things, and it was more about day-to-day living, kind of how I was planning my days, how I was scheduling things, how I was like thinking about my time, and just neglecting some basic needs. But the process brought me actually to some really profound realizations as well, things I'm not going to explore in this video here, but that I think are going to have a really positive impact on my life going forward. Because sometimes we need to hit a low point until we start questioning things. I have found this in many cases. I found this with employees, for instance, in my team, where things were going really smooth, and I wasn't checking people's work. I wasn't really paying attention because things were going smooth, a lot of money was coming in, and I just was happy. I wasn't really paying attention. And then maybe things get a bit tougher, or for whatever reason, and I start paying attention. I realize like, oh, like this is not going well at all. Someone's maybe work really wasn't up to standards, or whatever it is, right? And then you catch that and you can make some changes. But by default, I tend to be really positive, really like go with the flow. And it's actually in the negative stages where I start to question everything and aren't in the best state of mind, which is definitely not where we want to live. But when I spend a little bit of time there, I can often catch things that really aren't working for me and then make those changes. And then when things are back on track, they're on track at a better and better level. So I'd love to hear your thoughts on this in the comments. Maybe this is just a me thing, but I really don't think that it is. Do you find that this is part of your process where you have to go through some highs and lows, and that the lows you actually get something out of? It makes you question things, and in questioning things that you ultimately are able to gain insights that allow you to make changes to then improve your life. One of the things to be careful for with this that I have found is not giving yourself room to experience the lows as well and to actually go through this process. And I think that can create a lot of challenges as well. So if you are kind of going through that natural energy, and you should go into a bit of a low point, question things, resolve things, and then come back stronger. But for whatever reason you can't get into that, or you don't allow yourself to have a bit of that space due to external pressures, I think you can get stuck in a bit of a trap there, which I've experienced as well. So would love to hear your comments, your thoughts on this. Is this something that you've experienced going through this existential crisis? And if so, if you pull back and really think about the big picture, has it been a positive thing? Like, if you could remove this from your life, would you remove it? Or would you suffer for those few weeks knowing that your life overall is going to improve and you're going to get a lot of positive things from it? I'm Dan. Thank you for watching. This is Dreams Around the World. My mission here is to help you become the best version of yourself while creating the most awesome life possible for you and those you love. And I will see you in the next video shortly. I hope you've enjoyed this little tour of one of my favorite Spanish neighborhoods here.